Critics of the Karl Anthony Towns trade to New York will keep talking about how Kat is a 7-footer who doesn't necessarily protect the rim, or the fact that he's gonna make a huge $220 million over the next 4 years. In fact, for skeptics, it is tempting to compare the Karl Anthony Towns trade to the ill-fated big-name deals that the New York Knicks have pulled off for much of the last 20 years. In reality, the cost to acquire Kat by giving up Julius, Randle, Donte, Divincenzo, and a heavily protected future first-round pick wasn't really a steep price to pay, given Kat's talent, especially when you compare it to other recent blockbuster trades in the NBA. But most importantly, the Knicks don't even need to expect Towns to be their franchise's savior. That role already goes to 6'2" Jalen Brunson, who just finished 5th in last season's MVP race. Basically, all Kat needs to become for the Knicks is a very good and consistent co-star for Jalen Brunson. Because obviously, everything the Knicks do now has to be viewed through the lens of maximizing Brunson's prime years, most especially after he signed a contract extension with the team for $113 million less than what a player of his NBA status actually deserves. Well, Kat might not be a top 20 player, but he is the second star that the Knicks could get right now, and he is an upgrade over Julius Randle in a lot of ways. He can immediately start at center, where the Knicks were the weakest after Isaiah Hartenstein left for OKC and after Mitchell Robinson was sidelined due to ankle surgery. Besides, the Knicks were already all in from the moment they traded 5 first-round picks to land Mikal Bridges from Brooklyn earlier this offseason, and even from the moment they signed OG Anunoby to a massive $212 million contract extension. So having all those pieces in place, why not go after another ceiling racer type of player in Karl Anthony Towns, especially when you're trying to dethrone the Boston Celtics and not wait them out, and when you're trying to win the Eastern Conference arms race against teams like the Bucks, Cavs, and 76ers. So what's good everyone, it's Real Balls here, and in this video, let's dive deeper into how Karl Anthony Towns changes the New York Knicks and why this deal could really end up as a huge win for the franchise. Let's get to it. The Knicks are very much aware that in Karl Anthony Towns, they're getting a double-double machine who's averaged 24 points and 11.5 rebounds for his career, who's consistently ranked as one of the best three-point shooting bigs in NBA history, and who has already shown the ability to thrive in a complementary role next to a talented star guard like Anthony Edwards. Well, Edwards is a one-of-a-kind talent, but so is Jalen Brunson. Now, the Knicks will have one of the best guard-center tandems in the entire league in Kat and Brunson, who will also be flanked by 3 elite defenders in the potential Knicks starting lineup. Well, first of all, replacing the paint-bound game of both Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein with Towns, who has shot better than 40% from deep on nearly 6 attempts per game over the last 5 seasons, should extremely change the Knicks' offense. Looking at it, last season, no other team has done a better job of pulling the opposing team's rim protector away from the basket than the Boston Celtics. Thanks to the Celtics' elite 5-out offense, opposing bigs on average guarded 11 feet away from the rim versus Boston, while the rest of the league combined to pull opposing bigs away from the basket for just around 6 feet. But now, New York has a chance to recreate that same elite 5-out offense. First, very few pick-and-roll tandems in the NBA have ball handlers and ball screeners who both could pull up from 28 feet, and the Jalen Brunson and Kat tandem is one of those. Both Brunson and Kat are 40% three-point shooters. Either one can pop out to the three-point line, but both can also drive their way to the basket or create their shot from the mid-range. Guarding a Towns and Brunson pick-and-roll in itself will be a nightmare for opposing defenses, but then, the fact that the Knicks also have solid kick-out options on the wings surrounding their star duo just changes their offense entirely. There's OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, who's converted 40 and 42% of their corner three-pointers in each of the past 5 seasons respectively. Josh Hart has also shown that he can be a 37% three-point shooter on reasonable volume in the past, while off the bench, they will also have above-average floor spacers in Deuce McBride and Landry Shamet. This new lineup configuration should help boost the three-point shooting volume of this New York team that has finished just outside the top 10 of the NBA in terms of percentage of shots coming from behind the arc over the past 2 seasons. Now, Jalen Brunson will be afforded more space in the half-court that he's ever had since he left Dallas, and considering how good Brunson is operating against double teams, this should result in a ton of buckets for the Knicks. Well, the team might miss some of Julius Randle's interior scoring, but Towns is still the better and more versatile shot shot creator, even on the low block. In fact, last season, among all 24 centers who registered at least a 10% frequency on the post, Towns produced the 6th most points per possession on post-up plays, only behind Kristaps Porzingis, Zubac, Rudy Gobert, Nikola Jokic, and Joel Embiid. Well, the thing is, Minnesota didn't deploy Kat on the low block as often as they did in the past once they had Rudy Gobert, who mostly operated around the basket too. But this New York Knicks starting lineup with shooters all over and with Kat potentially at the 5 would just allow him to occupy the paint while taking advantage of interior defenders with his fadeaway jumpers and turnaround hooks on the post. But then also, as much as we think of the Knicks as a team who wins by simply suffocating opposing teams on the defensive end, the Knicks were actually a really good scoring team who's finished with the 3rd and the 7th best offense in the NBA the past 2 seasons, and these were fueled in large by their ability to get a ton of offensive rebounds. But now, with Hartenstein no longer with the team and with Mitchell Robinson out for a while, it might be reasonable to expect some slippage from the Knicks in terms of their offensive rebounding. But then again, when you got Towns and Brunson who can drive to the paint at will, and when you also got long, tough, and physical wings like Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and Josh Hart, who all can get to the basket out of a straight line drive, I think one way or another, those guys are gonna force some double teams somehow, and capitalizing on those rotating bodies should still allow the Knicks to continue hunting for offensive rebounds or to make kick-out passes to open 3-point shooters. So overall, I think the Knicks still have the personnel that could make sure that their scoring could stay at par or even better than last season. Although, there's still the defensive end of the floor, which opens up a ton of questions, especially with Kat's reputation as a subpar interior defender. But first of all, the Knicks can somehow offset any potential interior slippage by deploying a more aggressive and switch-heavy scheme with their lengthy starting lineup. Last season, the Knicks were just outside the top 10 of the NBA at number 13 in terms of forcing opponent turnovers. But this perimeter group that they now have, which features OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, and Mikal Bridges, gives the Knicks a better chance of generating those mistakes from opposing teams. As on defense, you can place each one of those 3 guys interchangeably on or off the ball and also across multiple positions, and you can expect them to deliver. But then, I think there's also the fact that Kat isn't as flawed as a defender as his reputation suggests. Well, last season, Minnesota had the NBA's best defense by a mile, fueled by a team loaded with length and physicality on the wings, and of course the league's DPOY Rudy Gobert. But the thing is, it's not like Towns needed Gobert all the time to avoid disaster on the floor, because with Kat on the floor and with Gobert on the bench, the Timberwolves defense still ranked in the 91st percentile in terms of points allowed per possession in the entire NBA. Towns is actually strong down low and he can hold his own one-on-one against most bigs, and this is best exemplified by how he defended Nikola Jokic during Minnesota's second-round series win against Denver. But for sure, to capitalize on their size on the front court, Minnesota used Rudy Gobert as a help defender and last line of defense when Jokic tried to spin around the basket. And looking at it, the Knicks can actually deploy a similar tactic with OG Anunoby acting as a weak side defender down low when Kat is deployed to guard on ball. Sure, Anunoby isn't as big as Gobert, but he is one of the strongest, most disruptive, and most instinctive off-ball defenders in the entire league. Or maybe, once Mitchell Robinson is healthy, the Knicks could straight up recreate their own version of a 2-big-man frontcourt, which should move Kat back at the 4 spot. This should allow the Knicks to move everyone up a position defensively, giving the team one of the largest starting lineups in the entire NBA, with Robinson and Kat in the frontcourt and with OG and Mikal Bridges at the 2 and 3. Well, sure, Jalen Brunson still has limitations with his size, but so did Mike Conley in Minnesota because of his age. Again, for sure, in the playoffs, there will always be a chance that Kat gets into foul trouble because he's defending too much with his hands and not enough with his feet, and there's always the potential of teams targeting Brunson because of his size. But all in all, I think those are rich man's problems that the Knicks have to deal with because of their new roster. The standards have changed for them as the goal is no longer to win 50 games or make a second-round exit, but rather to win an NBA title. And for them to do that, the Knicks have to find a balance between deploying their offensive firepower without giving up a ton on the defensive end. Well, last season, the Knicks were one of only 5 teams that ranked in the top 10 of the NBA in both offensive and defensive efficiency. And looking at how this team has added size, length, and versatility at every position, while also having better floor spacing and shot creation than they've ever had in the Jalen Brunson era, there's no question that they could become even deadlier next season. But of course, it also depends on how healthy this team can become. Karl Anthony Towns has missed 35% of all regular season games the past 5 years, Mitchell Robinson has missed 34%, while Anunoby has missed 29% of all games within that same 5-year span. Plus, ultimately, the Knicks are top-heavy, but they still have questionable depth. Well, for sure, at least a couple of Deuce McBride, Landry Shamet, Precious Achiuwa, Cameron Payne, or even Tyler Kolek will break out off the bench. But ultimately, if things go wrong, the Knicks have very few tools left to change course. They have spent most of their draft capital, save for some pick swaps, and they've also maxed out their payroll this summer. Well, that might sound like your typical New York Knicks teams of the past, except that this capped-out version of the Knicks is flush with talent and character, with their core players all in their prime years. So overall, I think Knicks fans have got to feel good, because trading for Karl Anthony Towns now feels much better in terms of increasing your team's championship hopes than simply waiting out for another superstar who never actually becomes available. So thank you guys if you've actually made it this far into the video, but what are your actual thoughts on the chances of the New York Knicks winning the championship next season? Feel free to drop your thoughts in the comment section below, and again, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing as well. Again, this is Real Balls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.